Controlling father bought me an adult toy and won't let me return it. I recently visited my dad's place to cut his hair and to grab some stuff that I needed. While I was there, he showed me one of his latest impulse purchases, a BDSM riding crop. We had a good laugh about it, and I half-jokingly said, "Next time you buy a toy like that, get one for me too." Today, he showed up at my place and surprised me with, well, let's just say it's a very suggestive-looking flashlight. I felt sort of amused, but I was also horribly embarrassed that he actually went out and bought a toy like that for me. But that wasn't the biggest problem. See, I didn't really know how to tell him yet again that I'm gay and not into women. I've come out to him before, it's not a secret. I've told him that I definitely won't be happy with a woman, and that I've never once been physically attracted to one. His typical response is simply that I haven't met the right one yet, or that I'll get there eventually. I thought about returning it, but I can't. He took the receipt, and since he said he paid with credit, I'm not sure I have any real options here. It seems like returning it simply isn't an option for me. And what makes it worse is that it was actually pretty expensive. So I guess I'll just keep it? Thanks, Dad. Man, sounds like this original poster is in a bit of a sticky situation. His dad really went balls deep in the belief he could cure his son of being gay just by buying him a toy. The only way to address this is for OP to give it to his father stiff and hard. Silence obviously isn't solving the problem, so it's time to get those lips flapping. Okay, I'm done. On a serious note, OP actually has a legitimate problem here that needs solving. The sad thing is that it doesn't sound like this OP's dad had the worst reaction possible to his son coming out. He hasn't disowned the original poster or tried to push him out of the family, but he's still not really accepting his son for who he is. There must be a way for OP to make things clear without coming down too hard on him. My advice? Tell him straight up that you don't want a weird flashlight for lonely people, especially when you don't feel like you can even use it. But maybe you have some better ideas. Leave us a comment telling us how you think OP could get through to his father. My bigot mother is trying to sabotage my wedding, but still wants me to have kids with him. I am Polish, but I moved abroad to Ireland when I was 26 years old in search of a better job. I met my boyfriend about 6 months after I moved. We've been together ever since, and it's now been 5 years. My boyfriend is half Turkish and half Dutch. This is important to note for later, especially for non-Europeans who might not have the context to already see where this is going. Anyway, life has been going great. I have a dream job, I'm paid very well, and I could not be happier with my career. But while things are going well here, my boyfriend and I are trying to leave Ireland for good. We are mainly trying to get away from our families, as well as the cost of living. We decided to move either to Poland or Germany. Fortunately, my job allows me to work anywhere in Europe. My boyfriend can't find a job elsewhere, however, so we are still stuck in Ireland and putting our plans to buy a house on hold. We recently went on a beautiful trip together, where my boyfriend proposed to me. Since this proposal, my mom calls me almost every day and pressures me about subjects that I hate discussing and that I can't give her any answers to. Specifically, she keeps asking when I'm getting back to Poland. She knows that my boyfriend can't find a job there, but she keeps pressuring me about it anyway. I feel stuck. She also says that I'm being selfish, and that if I won't move back to Poland, it means that I must not want to have contact with my parents, because I'm refusing to see them every week. Her sisters live close to their children, and she would like to have the same arrangement. She simply does not accept me living abroad. Everything she says makes me feel very guilty, like I really am hurting her. The guilt inside me is so strong that it's begun spiraling into depression. I'm worried that I'm disappointing my parents, because they want to be close to me, but I can't make it happen. My boyfriend doesn't speak Polish. Moving to Poland, where the pay is very low, and where he's having trouble finding a job anyway, would not be the best choice right now. I also feel that, because of my parents, I can't make a choice about what's actually best for me. If I told them that we'd decided to stay in Ireland, my mom would go crazy and would not stop crying, telling me every time we spoke about how selfish I am. This would make my life miserable. Yes, I would like to be closer to my family. I wouldn't want to live on the same street, but I'd love to be able to jump in the car and drive 3 hours to visit them. I just might possibly not be able to do that anytime soon. At some point, we considered buying a house in Ireland as an investment. I'm scared to talk to my parents about it, as they'll not be supportive and might make it miserable for me. So we probably just won't do it. My mom also keeps asking about kids. My boyfriend and I don't have kids yet. She says that I'm 32 and will have issues getting pregnant later. For her, having kids is just about the biggest accomplishment in life. But here's the real issue. After my boyfriend proposed to me, my mom said some very hurtful things to me. She revealed a few days after the proposal that she's not happy about this wedding. She says that we are a strange couple, and we will for sure not stay together. It's important to note that my mom's only met my boyfriend 3 times. She does not know him except from what I tell her, which is consistently positive. I travel home alone for the most part so that I can catch up on alone time with my parents, so he isn't usually there. My mom also mentioned that my boyfriend is Turkish. She says she's heard bad stories about Turkish men and that I would have a better life with a Polish man. Furthermore, since I'm earning twice as much as my boyfriend, she asked me if I plan on doing a prenuptial agreement. When I said that I don't, she said I'll be crying in a few years when I get divorced. She thinks I'm being stupid and that he's just after my money. She didn't remotely stop there. She also said we shouldn't get married before having a child, because putting in the work to raise children will show us if we're really ready to be together. And if we don't want kids, there's no point in being together, especially in being married. So she doubled down that I should think twice about whether I want to marry him at all. The issue of his heritage came up again when I said we might get married in Turkey, on the beach. She was against it. She argued strongly that I should have my wedding in Poland. But my dream wedding is on the beach. That doesn't matter to her because she thinks it's strange. I've been trying to keep her in the loop, sending her pictures of the venue I'm considering for my wedding. There's no reaction or interest coming from her side. My parents are supposed to be happy for my wedding. I feel that my mother is overprotecting and that she tries to control my life. She does not let me decide for myself and keeps pushing her own wishes on me. It feels unhealthy. It feels like she's not happy with my dad, so she tries to live my life instead. So let's get this straight. This OP's mother doesn't like Turkish people and thinks their daughter is headed for divorce. But she wants her daughter to have Turkish babies that she would possibly wind up raising alone after said divorce. Am I getting that right? It's clear that this original poster's mother can't even keep her own warped values straight. Who has a baby just to test whether their marriage will work? That's like buying your kid a dog to teach them responsibility when the right thing to do is to make sure your child is responsible before getting them a dog. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having kids before you get married, and after 5 years, it sounds like OP already knows that she and her boyfriend are a good match. But if the mother really thinks they aren't, telling them to have kids is just irresponsible. Props to this OP for still trying to maintain a relationship with her mother through all of this. But if your mother is making it difficult to get excited about your own wedding, it might be healthy to at least take a break from her for a while. And as hard as it would be, it's worth reconsidering whether she should be invited to the wedding if she's going to spend the whole time criticizing the marriage she's supposed to be celebrating. Nobody deserves that during such a special time in their life. My first time wasn't until I was 30 years old, and I had to pay for it. 2 hours ago, I started looking for escorts on WhatsApp and trying to see which one of them could get to me the quickest. One said that if she could shower at my place, she could be here in 15 minutes. But first, I had to send her a picture of my driver's license with everything but the name and date of birth blurred out. I also had to send her a full body image, and we could only meet at a hotel, not a residency. Finally, I had to send proof that I had the cash by taking a photo of the money next to a piece of paper with her name on it. So there were a couple of hoops to jump through, but nothing hard. Got it done in under 10 minutes, then it finally happens. She arrives. She greets me in the parking lot while I'm having a cigarette to try and calm my nerves. Her profile said she was part Haitian and part Nigerian, but she just looked like a traditional black woman to me. I'm not saying that to be offensive, it just helped me gain perspective on how diverse the black community is. She was kind of chubby and about average height, but she had a contagious laugh and wasn't afraid to show it off. I told her it was my first time, and she was actually excited because she had never been with a first-timer before. So we got down to business. She was incredibly patient and made sure I was comfortable. And surprisingly, I even got to try out her back door. I even got to dine at the Y, which was honestly the best part. I had to use a dental dam, but it was probably the closeness and intimacy of it that I loved most. We shared a lot of laughs, too. For example, at some point, I somehow stuck my head in the freaking ceiling fan. I'm not even that tall. About 6'6", so above average, but not too tall. Also, I learned that I can't kiss. I have a large number of scars from an explosion, and some of those scars are on my face. One in particular runs through my lip, and even left me with a lisp until I got that fixed. The problem is, though, I have no feeling in my lips, so she just told me to match what she was doing. I tried to explain that I couldn't even feel what she was doing. It was fun, though. At one point, she traced out the scars on my face with her tongue. It was weird, but I don't know. I guess it was nice feeling that close to someone, and feeling someone else's tongue on me. It was definitely unique. Now that it's over, though, it's weird. I expected to be left with so many questions, but everything felt so natural and simple. I expected it to be more complicated. I didn't have to worry about judgment, so that was nice, and I don't think I would have gotten that judgment-free experience in the wilds. Plus, the communication just made it so much easier. I was able to ask anything, and she was able to give me pointers and such. I don't think I would get that out in the wilds. Before she left, she even jokingly said that next time she's going to charge double if I don't tell her how I got these scars. It was nice being able to joke about something that is such a pain for me. It was nice to let go of the resentment and hatred I had for those scars for a second and just have a light-hearted joke about them. Funny enough, she said the same thing a lot of other people have told me, that I need a therapist and not an escort. I still feel so far behind at this point that I could never have a normal relationship or even please a woman with my skills as of right now. But this feels like the beginning of my romantic life. Also, I have an appointment tomorrow with a therapist, for those out there who have suggested it. I'm almost afraid to say anything about this story. The comments found this tale about a man sticking it in a woman's rear for money to be very wholesome and uplifting, and I don't want to rag on a man who's clearly been through a lot. But this is all very alarming, in the sense that the original poster seems to have some very skewed ideas on the definition of closeness and intimacy. One commenter said that men who pay for it are less likely to mistreat their partners. That's hard to imagine. Men who pay for it would be trained to believe that a woman is going to do anything they ask. I'm not saying OP is one of those men. It sounds like he's actually very gentle and caring, and probably just a bit confused on the definition of closeness since he's never experienced it before. But paying for it only teaches you the physical part. The important parts can only be learned in the wild. Dating isn't about the expectation of judgment-free experiences. Sometimes you need the bad experiences to better appreciate when you find the partner that's truly right for you. Spending time on fantasies isn't necessarily bad, but it's unhealthy if you don't accept that it's a fantasy. Nothing will replace or prepare you for the real thing. Hopefully, OP's therapist is able to help him develop the confidence and balanced perspective that will help him realize that and get out there in the real world. Sometimes it'll be great, sometimes not, but it'll be worth the journey. My dog's love literally saved my life, but now she's gone. Greta was my childhood dog. While I know she loved my family very much, she was never overly affectionate. She much preferred being pampered and lording over us. One weekend, I was home alone caring for both of our dogs while my parents were away. I had been experiencing depression for a while, and I'd had a particularly bad weekend. I had just received some more bad news that was going to have a hugely negative impact on my life, and I had truly never felt lower. I sat cross-legged on the floor of my closet with everything I would need to take the pain away forever. I couldn't stop crying. Then my dog wandered in. She hardly ever came into my room, much less into the back of my closet. I remembered being so confused as to why she was there in that moment. Then, as if she had been told to do it, she stepped over everything in her way and sat right in the middle of my lap, tucking her head into my chest. I absolutely lost it, and the gravity of everything that I was feeling in that moment crashed in on me. She sat there with me for almost an hour and let me cry into her fur as I petted her. When I finally collected myself, she got up and walked away as casually as she had entered. Until that day, she had never willingly sat in my lap before, and she never did after, although she would still occasionally offer a small furry shoulder to cry on if I needed it. It's absolutely surreal looking back on that moment and realizing that if she had never come to find me that night, there's a good chance I wouldn't be here today. I'm doing much, much better now, and although I'm obviously sad at her recent passing, she lived a long, beautiful life and was loved by many. I've never shared this story with anyone before, But in light of her passing, I wanted to share this tale of a moment that meant the world to me, and how Greta's love changed my life. Give your furry family members a hug today. See, this is what a wholesome story looks like. It's amazing how much the love of an animal can change a person. I've seen stories like this before. A person knows that ending their life will hurt their family. They know there are people who love them and want to see them succeed. Yet they still make those plans until their dog intervenes. It might sound bad or disrespectful to the family's love, but it's not as easy to explain as all that. Pets just speak to us in a way that words can't. I can't explain it. It's almost supernatural. It's a really good thing that Greta kept this OP from making a horrible mistake. Hopefully, anyone out there who's struggling and who doesn't have a pet to keep them safe will remember that there's always something worth experiencing, just on the other side of today. Sometimes it might be on the other side of tomorrow or the week after, but it's worth holding out to find it. And if you need a reminder until then that the world isn't all darkness and misery, find a dog to pet. It helps. Click one of the videos on screen right now.